Hey, today I want to tie a Stonefly pattern with you. This is a smaller pattern than the wire-bodied stone. This is on a size 14 Stonefly hook. I've got a plastic black bead on there, and I'm just going to put a few turns of non-lead wire on here. More than anything, just to keep the bead in place while I tie, but also just to give it a little, for this pattern, a little bit of weight, because we don't really, just using a plastic bead and we don't have a wire body, so this wire will help it get down a little bit. And I've got some 8/0 black uni tie in right behind that wire. Come over it a few times. Don't really need to worry too much about covering it. Just like to make sure it's in place, that it's going to stay there. And then stop my thread about halfway down the shank of the hook. Now this pattern I tie a little bit more contrasty, so with that in mind, I'm going to use some dark brown flexi floss for tail and legs. Once I've got that around the thread, I'm just going to wrap over it, and as I do that, I pull it toward me and slightly tight, and when I let go, it kind of acts like a spring and should flare those fibers for us. And I'll bring my thread partly down the bend of the hook. You can see those fibers flare out pretty nicely, and then one extra wrap over it, like so. Okay, I've got some amber small gauge vinyl ribbing here, and I'll catch that in on the side closest to me. This is just flat ribbing, it's not D-rib, although I think D-rib would probably be fine. I've got 3 pieces of Antron that I've put side by side to get the width that I want, and this is dark brown Antron. I have a counter shaded Nymph here. I'll just tie that in pretty well. Try to catch all these fibers so they're not sticking up on us. I'll clean up a little bit with my thread. Won't get too fussy because we're going to have a dubbed underbody here. That'll give us most of the shape we want. Just use the thread a little bit. Even things out. I'm using 8/0 as usual, so it takes a few more turns of thread, but I just like working with the smaller gauge. I'm going to take a pair of pliers and just very gently flatten this shape out a little bit. It's good. I've got some light cream yellowish dubbing, a little bit of sparkle in it. It's synthetic. I've mixed some Antron and a little bit of sparkle. Just gonna do the smallest amount, just a small amount first, because we're gonna catch in our rib so it doesn't slide on us. So I'm gonna bring this dubbing up. Just one turn, 2, over the top of that rib. Now that rib is locked in there, so it can't slide off on us, because it is a little bit slippery, and so is the Antron. So just putting a couple wraps over the top of it when you start ensures that it's not going to slip off the back, because as the fly gets wet and then it dries, things will contract and expand, and that's when your rib can slide off, and then you don't have a rib anymore, you just have a mess. And I like my stones particularly to be counter shaded. The insect natural is. Particularly just before it, or as it's getting ready to hatch, you'll see that the nymphs have a pretty distinct dark top and a lighter underside. Bring that dubbing up about halfway. Take our antron, make sure it's right over the middle. Drop our thread over the top. Tie that off. I'll pull it back. Put a few wraps of thread in front. Come back over the top. Trim out that waist. Tie that down. Alright, now we can take our vinyl rib. I'm going to get it just so, and then I'm going to pull that really tight, really cinch up on that rib as I wrap forward. I usually get, I don't know, 5 or 6, I guess, turns on a fly this size. I want to make sure I don't pull my antron too far as I pull on my rib. So try to make sure I keep that antron right on top. It doesn't get skewed to the other side. So I've got really good tension on that rib. And I'm just going to tie that off. A couple wraps over the top. A few wraps in front. Come back over the top. Trim this waist. I've got about a 1/8 of an inch width section of mottled thin skin here. Just going to cut a little point to the tip. We'll tie in. Tie that down. I like to tie this down fairly well because it's a little slippery. Pretty good. Come back to my flexi floss. And I'll articulate these legs, so I'm just going to put a little knot in each one. Not necessary, but for this fly I'll do it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. For this vid, we'll do it. And just tie one in on this side. And we'll do the same thing on the other. Try to match up those knots. Definitely not that the fish are eyeballing it that closely by any means, but just so your fly doesn't look sloppy. Tie that other one in. Looks about right. Trim out this waist. those so they don't get in our way. Now I'm going to have a dark thorax here. Part of the effect of this fly is for it to be fairly contrasty, so we'll have a nice light abdomen and a dark thorax and a dark top and dark legs. Creates a high contrast nymph. Got some brown synthetic dubbing, and again I probably mixed this. I know I did. And we'll just bring our thin skin over the top. 2 wraps on top, 2 in front. It's good and locked in. Now I'm going to do half a segment here, and then we'll tie in our next set of legs. So you want to do a full segment or else your leg placement will be off. Because these are articulated, I'm not going to tie in the middle and the front together. Tie them in separately. Put a knot in that one. Put a knot in this one. Tie it in on the far side. Tie one in on the near side. Again, I take a look at those knots and try to make sure that roughly they're the same place. If not, you can give this flexi floss a little tug. Works pretty well. Trim out that waist. Don't need that. Trim out this one. Don't need that either. Bye-bye. Come back to our dubbing. Finish off this segment. Bring our thin skin over the top. 2 wraps. 2 in front. It's good and locked in. Come back to our dubbing. Dub that pretty much right up to the bead. And just going to put a knot in this leg. And put a knot in this one. And then we'll tie in our front legs. It's pretty good. Those knots are pretty close to being in the same spot. And I'm going to put a little bit of thread in there. Lock those in. Give that a little pull, trim. Get rid of that. Give this a little tug. Get rid of that. Pull our thin skin forward one last time. Tie down over the top, pull this back, tie off in front. I'm going to put a few more wraps over the top, pull it back again. Now you can pull this fairly tight and trim very close. Should be nice and neat, clean. And just tie over this excess that's left. Grab my whip finish. Trim out our thread. Now you can come in and trim your legs. And that all looks pretty good. Everything looks to be pretty even. Proportions are pretty much what I want. Come in with a little head cement. Finish up. So you can tie this pattern fairly small. It's nice and contrasty. Gets down fairly well. Had a lot of success with it. It's pretty easy to tie. Don't have to worry about cutting wing buds. So hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. I'll be posting some more videos, so please check those out. If you liked this one, I'm going to put a little head cement over the top of this antron and the rib. Try not to get that on your dubbing. And that one's ready for the box. So again, thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you give this pattern a shot. It's really effective, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.